Grow your wealth. Live on your terms. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Conversations with Experts show presented by DareToChangeLife.com. I'm Millen Livis, the host of the show and financial independence mentor for professional women. I help women become financially independent faster than they believed possible for them, so they never have to worry about money again. For this show, Conversations with Experts, I invite some amazing people who have expertise in different areas of life that could be beneficial to my audience. Some of them talk about having profits with ease and flow. Some of them talked about how to be at ease no matter what happens in your life. And today I have a very special guest. And we're going to talk about becoming confident public speaker. Let me introduce you to the amazing Marjorie Saulson. Welcome, Marjorie.
Thank you, Millen, so much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here with you.
And I'm delighted to have you. So let me just tell you a little bit, very, very briefly about Marjorie, because she has so many amazing things that I could say about her, but let me just be as concise as possible.
This is the part where you embarrass me, right?
Yeah. So Marjorie was named both the top speaking coach of the year and the top motivational speaker of the year. Communication confidence, she is a communication confidence coach. And guess what? She is in her 80s, 80 years old, 80 years young, I should say.
Yes.
And she's still going strong. And she wants to be the most amazing, fabulous 100 years old that was ever lived. Right. I love that. So Marjorie is a #1 international bestseller author. She wrote a book and published Empowering Business Owners to Overcome Speaking Fears, whether you're talking to one person or 1,000. She also was one of the 50 women, including Oprah and Melinda Gates, who were contributing authors to a book, America's Leading Ladies. For over 40 years, Marjorie has coached reluctant speakers, helping them discover unique and authentic messages and acquire engaging presentation skills and overcome their fear of public speaking. Now you see why I invited Marjorie to be a guest. So we are here for a great show today. So I would like to start, and I should say after this presentation, I want to say that I'm really honored and very, very happy to have you here with us, because you are a treasure to have as a guest.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I would like to start with, I have a few questions. Obviously, I want so many things to hear from you. Let me ask you, what brought you to doing the work that you do?
Well, it's very simple, Millen. I love to help other people find their voice and the power of their voice, because it took me so long to find my own. And it's interesting, on the list of fears, they list public speaking as #1. And people think public speaking and they think give a speech. But it's my experience that it's anytime you talk to somebody other than yourself. Because I've worked with people who have no problem giving speeches, but they have so much social anxiety that they can't go to networking events, or they can't pick up the phone, or they feel really uncomfortable communicating online on Zoom. I hate the sound of my voice. And so all of these areas are really important, not simply in business, but in our lives. To me, everything is based on relationship. And how do you build relationship? It's through communication. And having had so much trouble becoming a confident communicator myself, I love helping other people come out of what I call the jail of their comfort zone so they can bust out and share their gifts.
Oh my God, I can so relate to everything that you said because public speaking is one of my desires to be excellent at as well. And I know that many people I come across to, they are afraid to speak in public. And I don't know if they're afraid of other things less than that, but it's one of the like up there fears that many people experience. So can you tell me what do you think is the underlying cause or roots of this fear? And what possibly the repercussions or what cost business owners, for example, experience when they have these challenges of being good public speakers?
But one has to go back to what is the cause or what is the reason that we human beings are fearful. And it's really part of our way that we've been able to survive because fear is designed to keep us safe. And we don't walk down dark streets in bad neighborhoods at night, and we generally lock the doors to our houses. So fear is a very important part of the human psyche, but sometimes it overfunctions. And one of the times it overfunctions is when we really want to share something and we can't get ourselves to do it, and then we beat ourselves up afterward. Why was I so afraid? Well, the fear is of feeling emotionally bad. It's not our physical safety that we're worried about. It's our emotional safety. We're afraid of being criticized. Now, that's a dumb idea. Or rejected. I know, I wouldn't want to do that. Or simply failing. And so it's really important to understand that if you have something worth sharing, then it's worth taking that risk and it's worth making it better. And as far as failure is concerned, you can't get really good at something unless you're really willing to be bad at it at first. I mean, you don't take 2 years of tennis lessons and then expect to play center court at Wimbledon, do you?
This is so true. And, I help women to become good investors. And when I start working with them, they paralyzed by this fear that what if it will not happen for them? What if they will not become confident at investing? And I say, well, remember when you just started doing anything? That's where it starts. It starts with desire to be good at something, to excel at something. And speaking is something, it's just like a skill. Would you say it's a skill set to be a good public speaker?
It's a skill, and it takes a desire to have, you need to feel you have something worthwhile to share. And what's interesting, Millen, is that people who work in hospice and talk to people at the end of their lives, what they regret is not so much what they did do, they regret what they didn't do. And why didn't they do it? They were afraid to speak it out loud. Oh, that'll never work. And then they go through life unfulfilled. And it's very interesting. I love the title of the book, Fail Forward. John Maxwell's book, Fail Forward. The only way to get good at something is, as I said, is being willing to be bad at it. If you've ever taken piano lessons or any kind of musical instrument, you start out and you sound pretty horrible. And you practice and you get better. And it's the same with speaking. It's a skill, but it's really 3 parts. And I call it the 3-legged stool of public speaking. And if you're missing one leg, and I call those 3 legs what, how, and allow. What's your message? Is it authentic? Do you believe in it? Is it well crafted? Is it in language that really resonates with your ideal people and attracts your ideal people and basically does not attract others who aren't your ideal people? Your message is a sorting mechanism, so you can forget about rejection. You want your message to reject the wrong people for you and to attract the right people. So that's your what. And then there's how. how are you presenting it? If you have a wonderful message and you get up there and start reading it like this in a monotone and sound boring,
That's the killer. That's the killer of anything and everything, right?
yeah. And the other thing is, it's not only how you present it when you're speaking, it's how you write stuff. And I look at, for instance, at people's LinkedIn profiles, which, you can't change the font and you can't make a boldface or anything. And they have and they follow what I call this big blob of text in a small font graphic school of design that the human eye cannot read. And I get emails like this. And a friend of mine says when she gets an email that's this big blob of text that she can't read, she just does what she calls the dance of the delete key. So how you present stuff, both spoken and written, are really important. And then the third leg is the allow. Are you allowing yourself to share what you have? And really, when you think about it, there are people out there who need to hear your story. And I never want to hear the excuse, Millen, a lot of people do this, I don't need to do this. There are some people who can only hear what you have to share from you. It's your voice they tune into. Like I said, everything's based on relationship, and there are some people who will only relate to how you share something. And when you don't, you are cheating people who need you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. And I want to get to, of course, because you are the master of this, I want to hear from you what strategies people could use to overcome this deep-seating fear that, paralyzes so many really important people who have important messages, and they feel paralyzed. They can't express it.
Well, first of all, to me, the foundation of your confidence is knowing you have something worthwhile to share, that is well crafted, and it's important to share it. And that way, if criticism comes your way, and we were all, I think, raised with criticism. It seems to be the go-to parenting tool to, grow us into civilized adults. And so it's important to kind of come into your adult self, as it were, and take a look at who's doing the criticizing. As my husband likes to say, consider the source. Is this someone's opinion you respect? If it's not, forget it. I mean, there are people who enjoy trying to cut down other people. And I think it's because they feel so small inside themselves that the only way they can feel bigger is by, being nasty or saying mean things to other people. So you have to really, on some level, feel sorry for these people because they have so little, belief in their own self that they can't stand other people who do things that they can't do. And the other thing is sometimes, unless you think absolutely 100% of everything there is to know about your topic, sometimes when people share something with you and it sounds critical, it may be a good suggestion dressed up in bad clothing. In other words, people don't really know how to give suggestions very well. And so it does sound very critical, but there may be a germ or a seed of something in there that you could incorporate in future messages. So that's, to me, the foundation. And like I said, your message is a sorting mechanism. If there are people who don't, there are people who don't need me. They really don't. And so when I share that this is what I do, a lot of people don't need that. And the thing is that the whole trick is to understand that they are not rejecting you personally. They simply don't, either they don't need what you have to offer, or it's the wrong time for them where they are in their lives, or they don't need it badly enough that they're willing to overcome the fear. And so that's really important. Now, when it comes to overcoming the fear itself, we feel everything in our body. Now, all of our feelings we feel in our body. We feel nervous, And so we can use our bodies to help us deal with that fear. So just think about when you feel nervous. That's nervous energy. And you can interpret two ways. You can interpret it as fear, or you can interpret it as excitement. They're two sides of the same coin. And you can use that energy when you speak, because we have all heard speakers who are up there and they have absolutely no energy, and you know they can put us to sleep because they have no energy. So think about when you're thinking you're feeling nervous, think instead you're feeling excited. You have something worthwhile to share. And it really helps, by the way, if you memorize, if you figure out in advance. I don't believe in memorizing a whole talk, because if you get lost in the middle, you're in trouble. And it's really frightening to memorize something. But my very first speaking coach said that you figure out in advance a really powerful first sentence and a really powerful last sentence. And then you have your bullet points in between that you can share in a conversational way. And that gives you tremendous security, because you know exactly how to start. And no matter what happens in the middle, you know exactly how to end. And the other thing is, when people are nervous, they tend to breathe shallowly. So if you can focus on taking deep breaths, then you're giving your body a message you're safe. When you run away from a tiger, you're not doing deep breathing. But when you are and the other thing is, doing deep breathing improves the sound of your voice. When you support your voice with your chest resonance, your deep breath, you sound much better than when you don't do it. When you don't use your chest resonance, that's when you hate the sound of your voice.
I like how you demonstrated. And so if I have, let's say, if I have a presentation that I have to give to hundreds of people, I'm very nervous, and I have 2 minutes before the presentation, and I need to pull myself together, and I need to kind of feel at my best. Would it be just the breath, just the deep breathing that I should do, or there is something else that you would recommend too?
Yes, absolutely. Now people feel their nerves in different ways. When I feel nervous about something, my mouth gets dry as the Sahara Desert. And so when I was studying voice acting, which has been a lot of fun because it helps me, share with people how to use what's called vocal variety so you don't sound boring. Anyway, one of the things I learned was that when you rub your tongue on the roof of your mouth, you get the saliva going. Now, don't do it like this. You can do it without being obvious. And it really helps to be well rested and to make sure that you are well hydrated. Your vocal cords like to be well hydrated, and your voice will sound much better when you're well hydrated and when you are breathing. And those things help you keep your nerves under control. And the fact of the matter is that most people have discovered, I've never heard anybody tell me any differently, that once they get started, once they get that first sentence or two out of their mouth and start really focusing on what they want to share, on the gift they are giving to the audience, instead of, focusing on their own, whether the butterflies in their stomach are flying in formation or not, they can forget about the butterflies and focus on the gift of the message.
That's a great advice. And it's so important to focus on who you speak to versus how you come across, and whether they will like you or not. That will completely shift everything, shifts energy, shift your thoughts before the presentation. And it's a great reminder. And I know that I always, when I have something important to say, to convey, I always remind myself, it's not about me presenting, it's about me inspiring people to do something that would help them to improve their life, improve their relationships, improve their business. But let me ask you this. So let's say I'm doing presentation, and and I'm allowed to, and it's a not monologue, right? So people can ask questions, and someone just throw you off by asking a question that you maybe don't know the answer to, or maybe it's embarrassing, or maybe it's just not appropriate. How would you handle that situation?
Okay, first of all, if it's not appropriate, give them the look. Really?
Okay.
And you could say, that's not something I am comfortable discussing. That is privileged information.
Okay.
I mean, don't let my sister, who's very wise, says the vast majority of issues in life are boundary issues, protecting your boundaries from people who are trying to infringe upon them. And people are so nosy, really, let's face it. And the most difficult thing is when you're a family dinner and a nosy relative asks you something, and how do you set a boundary without starting a family feud? And you can say, I'm really not comfortable discussing that.
Mm-hmm.
And if people keep pushing you, Millen, you use the broken record technique.
Okay.
Now, for those of you who are young enough who don't remember what happens when a record is broken, it keeps going over and over and over and over the same thing. Say, I really am not comfortable discussing that, and immediately change the subject. By the way, and ask a question right back, so that the person doesn't have time to do that. Now, it's very common that people get asked questions they can't answer. And the interesting thing, the very first person, Millen, who came to me with this problem was a fellow who was in the corporate world. And he told me he used to sit through these corporate meetings in absolute dread of being asked something he couldn't answer, and it would blow his chances for a raise or advancement and so forth and so on. So I came up with a 4-point system, and I call it ACED. Like I aced the test. And the A, and listen, when I say this, you will think, oh gosh, I've heard people do that all the time. The first thing is to acknowledge that you've been asked a question. Now that's a really good question, or that's certainly an interesting question. The C is for clarify. Sometimes people ask a question that is so vague or so broad. And what I like to say is you cannot give a good answer to a bad question. So you ask for clarification. I'm really not sure what you mean. Could you give me an example of what you're asking about, so I have a better idea? And force that person to clarify the question. Because as I say, you cannot give a good answer to a bad question. Now, the E is for illicit, E-L-I-C-I-T, not illicit, I-L-L-I-C-I-T, which means illegal. If you're in a group, you can ask somebody else. Illicit is to draw out something. You can ask, if it's just one-on-one, that's not something I've really thought about. Have you thought about some possible answers to that? The thing is, you're buying time with this system to, perhaps your subconscious knows the answer, and you will give it time to give you the gift of the answer. And if you don't get the answer by then, you can do the D, which is either deliver or delay. You get a gift from your subconscious of the answer, just pops into your mind, and you share it, and you're so proud of yourself. It feels so good. But if you don't get the answer, you can say very honestly, that is not something I've studied yet, or that's something our department hasn't worked on yet, or this is a new field of inquiry for me, and let me get back to you and check into it. And then do that, check into it, or you can say that is really the responsibility of the other department, and I will make sure they get back to you with an answer.
Okay.
And what's counterintuitive, it's really funny. We think that we blow our credibility if we can't answer absolutely everything there is to answer. But when you honestly say you don't know something and you're going to get back to people with the answer, it actually increases the trust that people have in you. And it increases your authority and expert status, because people know when you share something It is the truth as you understand it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for helping me to clarify the situation when people ask questions and you're not sure how to handle it. I have another question about networking. I know that some people are very uncomfortable with networking situations. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I was at a networking event and I could see how some people really at peace, confident, enjoying this experience. And some people just nervous because they feel that maybe they don't say something that would be valuable or someone will judge them. So how can you feel confident and focused in a networking situation?
Well, I started laughing when you because the very first networking event I ever went to, what I described myself as a wall hugger. And, it does take time to get comfortable networking. In fact, one of my mini trainings is effortless elevator pitch. And I recently updated to effortless online elevator pitch, which I did as a challenge. And now I've saved all the videos so that people can go to my website and get that. Because you need to feel, first of all, comfortable about how you're introducing yourself and how you're presenting yourself. And the most important thing is to remember what the real purpose of networking is. It's not to start selling stuff to people. That's when people feel really sleazy and salesy and they immediately come across, well, I have this wonderful opportunity for you. Or this is what, The purpose of networking is to get to know people and to build a relationship and to find out this person may or may not be your perfect customer. But everybody has their own circles of influence. And this person may know somebody who needs your services. So the first thing, and the rule of successful networking is always give first, listen first, ask first, find out what the other person does, whom they serve, what their goals are, and see if there's some way that you can help them. I remember that I was at a networking event and I was talking to one person who was just starting in business and really needed help creating a website. And about 20 minutes later, I was talking to somebody whose business was creating websites. So I introduced those two people. So part of being a good networker is being a matchmaker.
Interesting. I never thought about this aspect. I mean, I knew about this aspect, but to have this, to use this term matchmaking for as it applies to networking, that's definitely something very new to me.
Well, it's called, referrals, but I think
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, and it's actually very. I think it's a very good term, actually.
Yeah.
I have something else. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I just love humor, so.
Okay. And I like people who have a sense of humor. So I know that your website is Vibrant Vocal Power. And I would like to hear from you, what would you recommend to people who not really very excited about the sound of their voice, about the projection of their voice? Do you have any suggestions?
Well, the most important suggestions actually is whether you speak or you sing, your body is your instrument, and you need to keep it in tune. And this may sound like one of your parents nagging you, but get enough sleep and drink enough water. Keep your body hydrated. Dry vocal cords sound really uncomfortable. Has anybody ever said to you, you sound tired? When you're tired, it shows in your voice. And the other thing, the most important thing in terms of vocal production is to really yawn. This sounds really funny. I already told you about the deep breathing.
Yeah.
Because that gives you chest resonance. But the other place where your voice is a very important resonating chamber is your head. And when people get nervous, they tend to clench their teeth and they close the sound of their mouth. Your mouth is a resonating chamber. And one of the things you can do is to yawn, not simply dropping your chin, but back here from the hinge, where you separate your upper and lower teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about yawning back there, and you should actually feel the muscles stretch in front of your ears when you do that.
Yeah.
And that also helps relax you, by the way. And it creates more space for your voice to resonate inside your mouth. So when you combine the chest breathing with making space for the sound to resonate in your mouth,
Mm-hmm.
that combination definitely improves the sound of your voice.
Wow. Wow. So many valuable suggestions, advices, tips. Thank you so much. And
My pleasure.
I would like to know, I'm sure that many people who are watching this video, maybe live or in recording, would like to get in touch with you. So how they can get in touch with you?
Okay, first of all, I have a gift for everybody.
Wonderful.
You find it at the URL for my website, vibrantvocalpower.com / and if you put / M for Millen and L for Livis, I will know that you came here because you saw me on Millen's show. And on my website, there's a ton of information, and there's blog posts and videos and information about my programs. Twice a month, I do a free online training called Coffee and Coaching Club. It's a half-hour, first and third Tuesdays, and all of that information is on my website. And so you're more than welcome to come and visit. You will see on my website, by the way, that there is a lighthouse. And there's two reasons there's a lighthouse. One is that I'm from Michigan. We're on 4 of the 5 Great Lakes. I like to say only Lake Ontario has escaped us. And there are more lighthouses in Michigan than any other state. And the lighthouse that's on my homepage is on Lake Michigan and in a town called South Haven. And the Great Lakes actually are like being on the ocean, but with no salt. But the lighthouse is also a metaphor for your message. And remember what I said, that your message is there to attract the right people and not the wrong people. And when you think about how a lighthouse is there to serve the boats that need its light to come safely to shore. It does not go running up and down the shoreline after boats that don't need it, right?
Yeah, I love this metaphor, and I myself use a lighthouse sometimes as a metaphor for something that I do or something that other people give to the world in terms of services, in terms of their talents and their support. I just want to say again, so if you want to get a free gift from Marjorie on how to communicate with confidence, how you can attract new clients and score more sales, go to vibrantvocalpower.com /ML, my initials. And I can't wait to get this gift myself. I would love to know what amazing and dazzling Marjorie has in store for us as a gift. And so, Marjorie, thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today, for all the tips and nuggets that you shared. It's very, very valuable, and I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from this. So thank you for being a lighthouse to so many, many people in this a little bit crazy at times world we live in, right?
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to share that in that report, the subtitle is 10 Powerful Pathways for Overcoming Your Public Speaking Fears, even if you've struggled with them for years. And I talk a lot in there about the fears of criticism, rejection, and failure. And I did add an 11th pathway of how to get your nerves to serve you instead of sabotaging you. Because just remember what Mark Twain said. There are 2 types of speakers, those who are nervous and those who are liars.
I love it. I love it. I didn't know this quote. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you all for watching us today. I hope you enjoyed this show. And I always try to find some amazing guests like Marjorie to introduce to you. And next week, we're going to have another amazing guest who will talk about how you can dance with ease in any situation you may have in your life. So thank you again for tuning in today. I'm Millen Livis, and I look forward to seeing you with us next week, Wednesday, 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And have a beautiful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Grow your wealth. Live on your terms.